let's play a game. If you put me in the boardroom at Apex and these rules come on and we're discussing them, what would you have done differently, Jesse? Well, first, let me explain why I would have done this, what I would have done differently and why, right? Let's do the why first. The why is Apex was always different from every other firm because they had less rules. So it was less to remember. When I look at these rules don't affect me very much, other than I have to have a bigger buffer to get payouts because I'm a very disciplined trader and I have a system where I don't risk 5 to 1 like they allow you to. I risk 1 for 3, 1 for 2, 1 for 1.5. That's how I trade. So in essence, these rules don't affect me. But it has an onslaught of things that I need to remember. When I first started trading with Apex, I brought it onto YouTube here to my viewers because I thought it was the best firm for a new trader. Why? Because it had the least amount of rules that you had to remember. But what would I have done? I would have said, guys, okay, we're going to bring out some of these rules. No problem. I get it. The hard consistency rule cannot be 30%. The community wanted 40%. A lot of other firms do 40%. Some don't even do it. If we're going to be so strict on everything else, let's move this consistency rule to 40%. Why punish a trader that let a trend on the chart run? And a good trader knows when to cut their losers and knows when to let their winners run. Simple as that. So I would have moved that to 40% instead of 30. And then I probably would not have done the unrealized 30% one, not because of anything else other than it's just another rule to remember. But if we're going to put it in there, I would hardwire it into the system so it auto liquidates the trader's trade. That's it. That's what I would have done. Oh, Jesse, that's what I would have done. I think it would save the trader the headache of having to look at their unrealized P&L. Looking at your unrealized P&L can make you trade poorly because it'll make you trade your P&L. I don't trade my P&L. I trade the chart setups and the chart patterns, but again, I fall back to where I'm telling you, I don't let chart patterns or chart setups, I don't trade them in the fashion where I would be affected by that 30% unrealized losses, okay? But anyways, that's the only changes I would have made to this, guys. So we'll go over these bullet points here on Apex 3.0. So starting October 21st, which is today, all right, here are the key changes and new requirements, and these apply for PA accounts, okay? These do not apply for a live funded account where you're a live funded prop firm trader. This is for your PA, which is the step before that. And this doesn't affect evaluations. Okay. Again, it's just for the PAs. Your evaluations are not affected by this at all. Your live account where you're trading in the open market is not affected by this. This is only for the PAs. No more payout windows. That's good. That's a benefit. We like that, right? There's no more payout windows. Remember, it used to be the 1st through the 5th or the 15th through the 20th. That's no longer the case. Now, as long as you have 8 trading days in the account you're requesting a payout, you can request your payout. Obviously, so as long as you're above the threshold. So 8 trading days required. Only 5 of those 8 days need to have $100 profit. I think pretty much all of us make over $100, in those 8 days, 5 of those days at a minimum. I'm pretty damn sure. No more flipping rule. So as long as you have the 8 days, there's no more flipping rule as long as 5 of those are over 100 and you reach your threshold. And of course, you're within the 30% consistency rule, right? Now you're allowed to DCA and it's unlimited. That's wild to me. I'm really surprised at that. But I guess when you couple in all the other rules that come into play, it makes sense that it's fine to allow that. So as long as you manage your risk correctly, you're not going to be affected. Like you'll be able to unlimited DCA, dollar cost averaging. That means adding to your losers, right? Before they were allowing you to add one time to a losing position. So let's say you opened up a trade short on the NQ. You took one lot. It went against you, and I've done this, it went into the next resistance zone, and that's your line in the sand zone because above that you would stop out. That's how I would trade it. Then you can add there again. And you didn't have to add just one contract. If you had just added opened with one, you could have added 2 or 3 contracts. So as long as you were within your parameters. Now, just unlimited. And then 100% withdrawal is available after the 6th payout and onward. That means that you can take out all the profits. So let's say you have a $50,000 account, and that $50,000 account, you have $4,600 in profits. That means you can take out $2,000 anytime that you've hit the 8 days. But now let's say you've grown that account. Okay. You've grown that account and you've reached $10,000 in profit. You've been able to take 6 payouts and you still have $10,000. You can take out all 10K if you want. Now, here is where things start to get a little bit different and where some people have been complaining. And I mean, obviously, I don't blame them overall. But if you sit and you think about this and you think about it with a level mind, not allowing emotions to dictate your decision making, you'll see that it's not as bad. Why? Because most of the firms out there have these rules. Now, I understand, right, 100%, that Apex didn't have these. And that's what made them attractive. Wholeheartedly. I get it. That's why I came to Apex to start, because my search was looking for the best prop firm for brand new traders. But now you have a safety net requirement, and you're only allowed to take the profits up above that safety net. So, for example, your safety net is your minimum goal that you were used to be for your withdrawal. With a $50,000 account, that means you needed 2,600 and you could withdraw up to 2,000. That is no longer the case. Now, when you reach 2,600, you can withdraw anything above that. So let's say you reach 2,600, you keep trading, right? You're 8 days into this, you're 9 days or 10 days, whatever. It's 8 days to request. You're 8 days into this and you've reached $3,100 in profit. The weekend is here. You want to take out some money because you want some walking around money. You can pull out 500 bucks. It brings you back down to your buffer of 2,600. You can continue trading. You reach 4,600 bucks. You want to take out 2,000. You can take out 2,000. You reach 10,000. You want to take out 2,000. You can take out 2,000. The only time you can take out more than 2,000 in this case is after you've done 6 withdrawals. And that was always the case. You were never allowed to take out more than 2,000, right, in your accounts until you reached the max. And that's just what it is. So now we understand that safety net. They increased the risk to reward ratio. You guys remember it used to be 4-to-1, meaning you can risk $4 or $400 to make 100 bucks. To me, that always sounded crazy. Why? Because I risk, 1 to 3. Yeah, I don't always land on 3, meaning I don't always risk 100 to make 300. Sometimes I only make 100. Sometimes I make 200. Sometimes I get stopped out and lose 100 or lose 150. So that's just, to me, that's never been a thing that I worried about because I don't have that weird reverse risk ratio. I don't have that. But now they're allowing you to risk $500 to make 100. So do with that as you will. Now you have a scaling plan. Before they didn't have this. This does not really affect me, so it's not something I put thought into. But I know some people aren't going to like it because they like to go max balls to the wall out the gates. No longer the case. I believe now the way it works is 50%. So if you're allowed to trade 10 contracts in your account, at the start, you're only allowed to trade 5 of them. 5 contracts. Because if I'm not mistaken, it's 50% that you're allowed to trade. And you're allowed to scale that up to regular size as you put profit on in your account. Okay, consistency rule. Before, the 30% was something where it was not a hard and fast rule, meaning it was left up to interpretation. They would look at your account, they would look at your history and be like, okay, well, we can see that day you just let your winner ride a little bit more because it was trending. And okay, no problem. Here's your payout. Now, moving forward, that is no longer going to be the case ever. So you want to stay within that consistency rule. What does that mean? Well, 30%. Let's say you have $10,000 in profit. No one day should be over $3,000 in profit. That's it. So no one day where you allowed to make over 3,000 bucks. Guys, this could be as simple as if you made 3,500 bucks, enter another trade and lose 600 bucks, get yourself back under 3,000. Sounds wild. But if you're worried about it, that's what you do. If you're not worried about it, then you just keep trading. You have the skill set, you get yourself above that 30% and you're good to go. You get your profit balance above that 30% and you're good to go. All right. So that's your consistency rule right here. Here is a brand new rule. This thing was what broke the internet yesterday on Twitter because Apex, I love them, but they have a hard time in communicating. And when they said unrealized losses cannot exceed 30% of your total profit, may void profits of that trade, it broke Twitter. It broke X, it broke Facebook, it broke YouTube because they were not specific with it. And I'll explain. It led to where if you had $10,000, you couldn't risk more than $3,000 unrealized in a trade. Okay, who the freaking hell's out there doing that anyways? But it left it to where if you open up a brand new account, you're trading it on day one, right? And you made 100 bucks. Does that mean that tomorrow, when I wake up and I'm going to sit down and trade and my account is 50,100, my total profit in the account is 100 bucks, am I not allowed to risk more than $30? Insanity. That is not the case. The case is that this 30% rule works with your unrealized trailing draw, okay? Until you hit the threshold. Let's use a $50,000 account as an example. In a $50,000 account, your unrealized or your threshold, give me 1 second here because I don't really know it off the top of my head, is 2,500 bucks. Okay, so 2,500 bucks, that means you're allowed to risk 750 bucks per trade. So if the account now is 50,100, it's still the 750. If the account now is 51,000, it's still the 750. Okay, if you are at 52,000, it's still 750. So you don't want that unrealized to hit 750 bucks, meaning it shouldn't, right? It really shouldn't hit that. Just be mindful, watch it. I don't like watching my unrealized P&L, and I'll tell you why, because it messes with emotions. So I tend to not watch it, but I tend to know my risk parameters. And I know that if I enter a trade and I have a 10-point stop and I have one lot, I'm going to lose 200 bucks. So that's not going to bother me. And if I have two lots, I'm going to lose 400 or 500 bucks. So I'm not going to reach that 750. Okay. So just make sure that you're aware of that. And that's how that works. No, there's no reason to freak out about it anymore because now we have clarity on it. It's going to be utilizing your trailing drawdown until you reach your threshold. Once you reach your threshold and above, it just utilizes your total profit in the account. So that actually increases, right? If you get up and over threshold, okay, and you request some money, then you have a red trade and you get back under threshold, guess what? In the 50,000, it's 750. So you go back to utilizing your not your threshold, your trailing draw, or in this case, it is your thresh. It's just that total number again. You go back to what you had originally started with. Sounds crazy confusing, but it's really not. Okay. No drastic inconsistent sizing allowed. They meant this to, because I'll trade one lot and I'll add 2, 3 to them, right? And I normally trade 3 or 4 lots. Like you'll see me trade up to 3 or 4 lots, sometimes 5. You rarely ever see me go above that. So it's not talking about that. It's talking about where you come in and today you traded 8 lots, 5 lots, you made a bunch of money, and then you just started trading one lot from there on out, or you trade one micro from then on out and stuff like that. They don't want to see that. They want you to just trade like a regular trader. Nobody does that in a cash account. In essence, it's crazy to me. I close my eyes and I put my head on my head because they just want, and like every firm, honestly, they want you to trade your freaking PAs and your live funded accounts like you would if it was your money and your trade of 8. That's really what it comes down to. Okay. Monitoring and compliance. Day 6 task team will identify red flags to prevent payout issues. Meaning on day 6, if you've broken rules or something seems off, you should be contacted uh, by their team that identifies these things, so that when you get to day 8 and you put in a payout, you're not caught off guard. They don't want that. And then you have your probation. It's all the same thing. It allows you to fix mistakes and clean up your act. Maximum adverse excursion, tracking implemented to compare with realized profits. Oh, yes. So there's a software now. Let's say you disagree with them. There's a software now that you can use. It's not their software. It's another company's software where it'll bring all your data in. It's like a trade journal. And then you can say, hey, look, I didn't violate the 30% rule on the unrealized stuff, right? I didn't violate it. Here's the proof. If that's the case, then boom, you win. If it's not the case, then hey, they're not going to fire you, right? They're not going to cancel your account. It's just fix it, move on. And they want you to trade in a defined system. I mean, shit, man, that's how we're supposed to trade to begin with, right? Like if you trade reversals, you have your system on how you trade it. If you trade chart setups and patterns, then you have your system on how you trade chart setups and patterns, like a bull flag, a bear flag, a descending wedge, an ascending wedge, and all that fun stuff. So it's just it. And honestly, I don't think we need to go over anything else. I think that's pretty cut, clear, and concise, right? You don't even need to go watch the video, in my opinion, but you can. Bernard says, Jesse, can you explain one more time? Unrealized losses cannot exceed 30% on a $50,000 account. Thank you. Yes. Let's say you start a brand new PA today, $50,000 balance. You make $100. Okay. Tomorrow, when you open up your account in the morning, you're going to have 50,100, right? Initially, people thought, oh, so I can't risk $100 of that profit? I mean, I can't risk more than 30% of that profit? Are you telling me that my unrealized P&L cannot hit more than $30 in the red? That's crazy. That's insane. So Apex came back out and said, no, that is not the case. We did not communicate this correctly. From the moment that you have a $50,000 balance to the moment that you hit your buffer, which is 2,600, you're allowed to risk 30% of the unrealized, 30% of your trailing drawdown. Your trailing drawdown is $2,500. 30% of that is $750. Okay, so from 50,000 to 50,200, 52,600, you're allowed to risk unrealized on trade $750. The moment you surpass 2,600 in buffer, Now it's just that buffer, right? So let's say now you have 2,700. So 2,700, 30% of that is $810. Now your risk, instead of being 750 unrealized in a trade, is now $810. Okay. Now you drop back underneath buffer. You go right back to 750 bucks. You've continued making profit. You have $10,000 in profit in your account. That risk now is $3,000 because you have 10,000 bucks. You see how that works?
And I'll catch you on another one. Peace.